Hi, I'm Steve and welcome to my kitchen. Today I want to demonstrate how you can make fresh pizza dough.
Like this, with only a few minutes of work. No mixer, no kneading, no yeast proofing. All you need to do is mix the ingredients in a bowl, wait while Mother Nature does the kneading for you, and poof, you have pizza dough. Sometimes we spend more time running around getting pizza than it takes for us to make great tasting pizza.
I have set up my workspace with my utensils and my ingredients.
I'll be using 3 cups bread flour, 1½ teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon instant yeast, 10½ ounces cool tap water. I'm going to start with the dry ingredients. 3 cups flour. I use the scoop and shake method for measuring flour. This recipe is very forgiving and you don't have to be exact. Next, 1½ teaspoon salt. I use everyday table salt. I use a heaping teaspoon to get my teaspoon and a half. And 1/4 teaspoon instant yeast, sometimes referred to as bread machine yeast. Before we add the wet ingredients, I want to mix the dry ingredients to ensure the yeast and salt are evenly distributed throughout the flour. Now it's time for the wet ingredients. 10½ ounces cool tap water. Next, we'll combine the wet and dry ingredients. I've tried flavoring my pizza doughs. I tried olive oil, cornmeal, garlic, onion. I even tried flavor packs, but I came back to the basic pizza dough recipe because the simplicity of the flavor didn't conflict with my toppings. Those of you who are familiar with the no-knead method of making bread probably noticed I'm using 1½ ounces less water than the typical no-knead recipe. This is one of the points Cooks Illustrated made in their almost no-knead recipe. If you reduce the wet ingredients, you'll be able to handle and shape the dough. On the other hand, it's more difficult to combine the wet and dry ingredients. Because I'm using less water, I get to a point where stirring the dough with a spoon becomes less effective. Don't fight it. Use your spatula to form a ball. Then use your hand to smooch the dough a couple times. Rinse one hand in water. Pick up the dough ball, turn it over several times, and the moisture from your hand will coat the outside of the dough ball and pick up the last bits. And we're done.
That, my dear friends, was the hardest part about making the dough. No mixer, no kneading. Well, I did have to smooch the dough a little bit, didn't I, to combine the wet and dry ingredients. All we need to do now is cover the bowl with plastic wrap and leave it on the counter to proof. See you in 8 hours.
Dough should be proofed for 8 to 24 hours, which gives you a lot of flexibility. You can make the dough in the morning and bake the pizza for your evening meal. Or you can make the dough in the evening, bake the next morning, and have fresh from the oven pizza for your lunch. Think about it. It takes me less than 10 minutes to make the dough, from the time I walk into the kitchen to the time I cover the bowl with plastic wrap. It would take me longer and be less convenient to go out and buy fresh dough. The dough is proofed for 8 hours and more than doubled in size. Bakers have known for years that bread benefits from long proofing times. The no-knead method takes advantage of this principle. It uses a minimum amount of yeast and long proofing times to develop flavor. Meanwhile, the long proofing times replaces the arduous task of kneading. Mother Nature does the kneading for you. Okay, let's take the dough out of the bowl. I have a silk pad on my workspace and a flour sack towel off to the side. I'll lightly dust the workspace with flour and scrape the dough out of the bowl. You don't need a lot of flour because of the balance of wet and dry ingredients in this dough. It won't be as sticky because we use 1.5 ounces less water. Its stringy nature tells us Mother Nature has done her job. With floured hands, I'll lightly knead the dough a couple times. Form a ball. Divide the ball into 2 pieces and place 1 piece on the flour sack towel. That's all there is to it. You now have fresh pizza dough. At this point, the choice is up to you. You can stretch, toss, or roll the dough to the desired shape now, or you can proof the dough for 1 to 2 hours and then shape the dough. Because pizza is a flatbread and I like thin crust, I'm going to roll the dough into shape now. Let me show you. I'm going to start by drizzling a little olive oil on the dough. I'll use the roller to spread the olive oil, then flip the dough over and lightly oil the other side. The oil adds flavor and it'll give the pizza crust a nice golden color. You can see how springy the dough is. Don't fight it. We're going to roll it into a rectangle and then we'll let it rest for 15 minutes. While it's resting, the yeast will do its work. The dough will relax and we'll be able to roll out a nice thin crust. I covered the dough with a flour sack towel. I'll see you in 15 minutes. I'm going to start by prepping the oven. I move the oven rack to the middle of the oven, set the oven temperature to 500 degrees, and I set up my workspace with cornmeal and a cookie sheet off to the side. The dough has rested 15 minutes, so I'm going to finish shaping the pizza dough. I want the pizza dough to be very thin and about the size of the silk pad. If you want to have a standard pizza crust, roll the dough out to cover about 75% of the silk pad. In other words, I'm using the silk pad as my guide. Look at how easy it is to roll now. Next, I'll dust the dough with cornmeal and press to bind. The cornmeal is what gives pizza parlors their distinct aroma, and if I were using a pizza peel, the cornmeal would help me slide the pizza into and out of the oven. But I'm not using a pizza peel because thin crust pizza is more difficult to transport. I'm going to pick the dough up and transfer to the cookie sheet. If you don't want to transfer the dough, you could leave it on the silk pad and put the silk pad, dough and all, on the cookie sheet, but skip the cornmeal. You wouldn't want cornmeal on top of your pizza. And it's ready for the toppings. For toppings, I'm going to use pasta sauce, mozzarella, provolone cheese, pepperoni, and mushrooms. I'll start by spreading on a thin layer of sauce. Then I sprinkle on a little cheese, add the pepperoni, add the mushrooms, sprinkle on a little more cheese, and the pizza's ready for the oven. I put the pizza in the oven and I set the timer for 12 minutes. You would typically bake a pizza for 10 to 15 minutes. It depends upon how thick your pizza is with toppings and how you like your cheese on the top. It's been 12 minutes and the pizza is ready to come out of the oven. The appearance is excellent and the taste is great. Homemade, fresh from the oven pizza with your favorite toppings. It doesn't get any better than this. I have a variety of videos demonstrating no-knead breads and smart and easy recipes. You may want to take a look at my YouTube channel. It's free. Just click on the Artisan Bread with Steve tab above this screen.